And here we go. Hey everyone, Larry Bailey, Mortgage Workflow Partners. Today is November 26th, 2024, and we are joining as a community. It's pretty special. I'm not for those that are just coming in here, thanks everybody for joining. I always love meeting with everyone. And a couple of things that are going to be talked about in today's event. First of all, reflection, right? I think Thanksgiving carries a lot of mixed feelings for folks, uh, mostly because it's a forced moment where you have to think about things that have happened. And sometimes those things aren't always so pleasant, right? Sometimes they are, though. And so, what I want to do with today's call, if you're okay with it, is to talk about things that have happened in 2024. We've had a very, very, very busy year. Depending on what you've been doing in life and what's been going on in your life, it could have been a lot of peaks, could have been a lot of valleys, could have been a mixture between the two. For me personally, I think this year has been way more many peaks than valleys. We've had a couple of valleys in any event. That's what we want to talk about. If you have anything you want to talk about or share, it is a community meeting. So go ahead and just raise your hand. It's probably the easiest way to do it. I've got the chat running also. So feel free to throw something there in the chat as well. In any event, we'll get onto it here. We've got one special guest who might show up late. We'll see if they do. So a couple things that have happened so far in 2024 that I want to call out is the biggest one that affects all of our lives, honestly, is ICE Mortgage Technology. So for the entirety of 2024, ICE has been pushing everyone forward, mostly to fulfill its own vision, right? So ICE bought Encompass from Tony Brava. So the idea there was it was in a private equity firm, and Intercontinental Exchange saw the opportunity to truly configure and connect a true digital experience from household through investor, subservicing the whole thing, right? And this has been talked about for over the years. For myself, because I'm an old guy, I've been started in banking in 1988, mortgage banking in 93. And so I've seen a lot of change. And one of the things that we've all heard about, talked about, et cetera, is the digital experience, right? We talked about going paperless. Show of hands, who started in lending using paper, right? That's me, right? And so if you starting lending using paper, go ahead and raise your hand. Like, so for those that are watching this on replay, I don't know if you see the hands raised or not, but there's 10 hands and counting, 10 plus hands. We worked in paper. I don't know. And also, this is another thing to reflect on. Did I help anyone who's on this call? Was I your implementation project manager for Ellie Mae at the time? I'm curious if I actually helped implement any of your platforms, because one of the things that thanks, Lou, but one of the things, so Alex, I was yours, and Angela, I was yours. That's wild. That's over 10 years. That's like 12 years ago. And so one of the things that was crazy at the time was moving from something else to Encompass, and typically it was Point at the time. Sometimes it was DataTrack. But anyway, it was moving from something else into Encompass and going paperless at the same time, which was just wild, just completely wild. And so what we usually did was we kind of tiered it out or scoped it out to where we'd have stages. Let's get you stable on Encompass, and then we'll take you paperless, kind of a thing. And the reason why I kind of went down this track was because it was all about going digital. And so if you think back over the last, I'm going to say like the last 7 years, right? So 7 years, 2017, is back when I joined Kenzie Mae. Kenzie Mae back then, for those that don't remember, was a really, really, really small company. I was like employee number 7 or 8 or something. And that's when I brought Basecamp over into, which is now the admin portal. Show of hands, who uses the admin portal like every day, every week, leverages that, right? It's a really great resource. Super, super happy that Kenzie Mae has continued using that, and you guys can leverage it to everything possible. The intent of Mortgage Community, when I started it 2 years ago, was to really find another place to share information. And my idea was, hey, let's get together with no boundaries, all different kinds of companies bringing information. And it turns out I'm the only one that's talking, which in some cases can be okay. In other cases can be sucky because it's one perspective. And everybody's always welcome to ask questions and tell your side of what's going on. It's always open. Anybody can join the mortgage community, or mostly anybody. I have kicked a few people out. And where this is headed is Mastering Encompass was created this year. In the sense of it all, Mastering Encompass really became its own thing this year. I checked with ICE and I said, hey, listen, are you cool if I do this? And they're like, so you're going to help teach people how to use Encompass even better and share your concepts of using it for 20 years? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thanks. Please do that. And so where I'm taking this, you're going to start to see more announcements, but I'm actually creating a native app that's going to be focused exclusively on mastering the Encompass platform. We're going to have more information coming on this soon. I'm giving you guys a heads up here because I want to give thanks. Like, this is happening because of you. It's happening because you're the community that I'm doing this for. Quite honestly, if I didn't have you, I would just be doing this for myself. And that's not a lot of fun. It's okay, but it's really not what I want to leave behind after, where are we now? 36 years. I want to try to leave something behind and share this knowledge so it doesn't just go into the ether. And so part of what I wanted to give thanks to everybody who participates and shows up and contributes. And you may not feel like you're contributing because you're not posting something or like that, but I know you're engaging with other folks in the community and other forums too. So kudos to you and thanks for that. So what's going to happen over the next 12 months? Well, hopefully you've been paying attention to the release notes because those things are wild. So I'm going to share a screen here for a second. And hopefully everybody's got the public version of the release notes. Hopefully you're not going to the resource center at this point. And if you go there, what I said to the admin coaching group that we meet every Tuesday and Thursday, and we go through large concepts and small details. But not only should you be paying attention to what's happening with Encompass Major Release, because that sucker is like 74 or 76 pages now, but you've got to also keep your eye, if you scroll down, you've got to keep your eye on everything. So if you're using web version, remember, that's not like going to Encompass Web. That's like web version running your desktop. Remember, desktop and web simultaneously working same time always. So you've got now 147 pages, I think is the latest number, and it's probably going to go up a little bit more by next week. You got to stay on top of that. Even the walkthrough that I did on video that I released, it's got to get updated because there's things on there that aren't current because of what ICE has added. Also, Consumer Connect got a huge thing. I don't know if everybody caught my email yesterday, but it was about, or my announcement yesterday, email came right around there from ICE 2 also, where it talks about we finally have with Consumer Connect a native app. Like, did you guys catch that? Show of hands. Anybody see that? Is that a surprise to you? I don't know, but you've got to make sure that, you just like John did. I know I did, and through my partner rep also, I requested it to be turned on. And John, don't forget, it's not just the native app you've got to request, but it's also the new interface to configure those pages. So here's what I'm talking about. And I'll share this on screen with you real quick because this is a big deal. This ACT thing, application customization tool, this is really important because when you're looking at the release notes, let me show you why it's important. When you're looking at these release notes, what you need to understand, and I kind of got into this thread, which I'll also bring up right now. So I don't know if you know this guy, Mayur. Mayur is actually the CTO of Intercontinental Exchange. And he's been kind enough to pay attention to some of the things that I'm doing. And the reason why I'm bringing this out is because of what he says here. our integrated consumer engagement suite. I want you just to absorb that for a second. Consumer engagement suite. So what does that break down into? Sales and marketing, also known as Velocify. Lead management, also known as Encompass CRM. Borrower portal, that's Consumer Connect, along with a POS now. Now you might think, well, it's really not a POS, Larry, it's just an app, right? To which I would say, well, what's nCino? It's just an app. What's Blend? It's just an app, right? And so here's where I'm leading you. You now have this loan customization tool. Why is this important? This is important because when you look at how the pages are configured, what's that look like, gang? What's that look like? Oh, Candace, you pick up the smallest detail. I want you on my team when we do party games that look for details. What the heck's that? What's that game, guys? Not Brainology. What's that game where it's got a brain on it? Anyway, and you have 4 different categories. It's like the old Trivial Pursuit, but for new generation. Somebody knows the game. Anyway, I want you on my team, Candace. So this looks like Consumer Connect had a baby with TPO Connect, right? So when you go through here, the idea is you're now able to create these custom input forms on Consumer Connect and these text fields and the flow. This looks nothing like Consumer Connect today because you now are going to have this app and you're going to be able to create workflow IDs because that's the way Consumer Connect works, through workflow IDs, or Consumer Connect IDs, I should say. And that's specific to this outflow, right? So here's where I'm leading you. If you've been listening to me over the last forever, I've been advocating use widgets, because if you go to somebody's lending page and they click apply and it pops up ICE Mortgage Technologies website. And I've always been to the point where, hey, listen, you've got a custom website. Like, why do you want to push it to ICE, right? Why not just have a widget and keep the borrower on your own page? And by the way, I'm still advocating that for the general population. The reality, though, is now it's changed. Now the paradigm has shifted. Now we have to consider we have a native app. And by the way, this has been my rail against Simple Nexus or nCino. This has been my rail against Blend. This is my rail against the big POS also. Why drive your borrowers to somebody else's domain? And the reality is because the salespeople typically want a native app. Or in lots of cases, they just don't like Consumer Connect because of the login experience. Well, here's ICE's answer to that one. So now you have to look at, well, why aren't we using Consumer Connect? Was it the login experience? Oh, well, the app's got that. Was it the automated sending a document request and retrieving documents? Yeah, that's in 24.3 now. By the way, the automation of retrieving documents into the e-folder, nobody else has got that. Unless you build some kind of custom tech, which again, why would you spend the money if you don't have to? Some of the other things that are out there that happen, are in this. So where I'm leading you is the reason why you need to be aware of what's happening over the next 12 months is because ICE is going to fulfill its mission to take all these products that you see here on this release notes page and make you wonder why you're not using them in your workflow if you're using Encompass. And this is where I get into my soapbox speech of workflow before technology. Earlier today in the admin class, I talked about how can you use Scheduler in your workflow. Angela, check this out. You want to know if it's in the App Store? Yep, it's right there. So it's that little blue box with the white house. And you can get to it if you go into the release notes. You can get to it by going to blah, blah, blah. It's somewhere down here. Right there. It's called My Home Loans mobile app. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So the idea is when you're looking at these products, you need to start asking that question. There's going to be updates to the appraisal center. There's going to be updates to the title center. Obviously, I don't think Optimal Blue has anything to worry about with ICE PPE, but we'll see. But right now, I want you to really start thinking about it, your company. Why are you using a different document solution to transmit or send documents to a borrower? Why are you using nCino? Why are you using Blend? Like, why are you using these third-party agencies to deliver and be um, and be part of an extra level of pay? That's the question that I would have you ask. Angela says, is there still no extra charge for Consumer Connect? Right, there's no extra charge. Oh, and by the way, when you go to do eClose, no extra charge. So yeah, John answered it for you, Angela. Thanks, John. So listen, I'm not here because I'm getting paid by ICE. I don't actually get paid by ICE whatsoever. I pay ICE. The reason why I'm saying this is because I believe firmly in the best possible workflow for my business. I was this close this year to opening up my own mortgage company and opted not to, and to focus in on Mortgage Workflow Partners. And I'm damn glad I did, because I wouldn't be here doing this right now if I didn't. So a couple of things I want you to think about for 2025 is, what do you want to accomplish for your company? I had this big kind of, hopefully it was an inspirational speech for the admin team, but for the admin course. But I want you to think about, for admins, I want you to really think about, what are you doing for your company that's beyond this stupid break fix stuff that you have to deal with? So when we're looking at, as an example, when you're looking at web settings and you're looking at all the stuff that's available, guys, I mean, look at this nonsense. And I say nonsense in the most caring, honest, sincere way. But if you total up 146 pages here, plus the pages over in desktop, plus the pages in Consumer Connect, plus the pages in TPO Connect, not to mention any other products, it's a whole new platform. It's really crazy. So that makes me excited, because that means that for my business and for my clients, I can reimagine their business in ways that they couldn't do now, but they can do it this time next month. And so that's where I'm leaning on you guys as a community, is really use this moment to understand what's happening. I want you to really engage in what could be possible in 2025. Don't get caught up in the nonsense of what the desktop input forms always were. Reimagine card-based view. I've talked to somebody who's at a really large lender, and they were trying to go live with web, and I said, show me what you did. And they showed me what they did, and I was just aghast. I was shocked. I said, where's your cards? And they're like, yeah, we're not doing cards. I'm like, you're crazy. You're just absolutely crazy. So I think you guys have seen that. Does anybody want to see card-based view again? Does anybody want to see that? I know I feel like I've shown it to you a million times, but if you want me to, just throw it in the chat. If you want me to, raise your hand if you want me to show you. Oh, please? Okay, cool. I'll show it to you real quick. And the reason why I talk about this is because I'm passionate about how much of a life change this thing is for everybody who uses it. I've got people that are literally using Encompass, Google Sheets, Trello, Monday, all kinds of stuff to try to keep track of their files. And then I show them what they can do in Encompass Web with a workflow design. If I can click correctly. With a workflow design here, I'll show you down the enhanced condition one this is like my demo that I usually give people. So when I come in here, I usually say, okay, salesperson, go. They know exactly what to do. They go to summary, they go to credit. When they go to credit, they've got the bar information. They can click credit, they can get pricing. If they want to flip it down and go check things out over there, if they want to go to their 1003, they can go here. If they want to go to initial disclosure review, this is something I built to check the status of the file, get it ready for disclosures. It's like Inception. For those that have seen movies, I don't see too many, but Inception is one that stands out for me. You can go from layer into layer into layer. And what's super clean about this is, from an admin, if you don't have multiple persona syndrome, you can give this one input form to the correct persona and they won't see anything else. You can put each of these cards anywhere that you want. And if you want to do something special, do something special. But you can, so Luba, you can design your own cards. Simply going to admin, and a card is a representation of a landing place. So as an example, That's not what I wanted. Oh, I'll land here. So this is, let me go back. If I can not break it, I'll just put things in context. We'll go into this guy. So this guy right here, see how this loads up right here? That is this. So a card is just a reference point for a link. Now, in this particular case, application cards is a link to an application view, which is a standard set of cards from ICE. So what I would have you do is go explore, like go into a file in web and just go explore, click, 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 get a sense of what you're dealing with and see where things are. Look what they did with the HELOC management, right? And so in HELOC management, you have cards. Well, hell, you could put those cards anywhere. Look what they did for FHA management. You can put these anywhere. You getting the gist, Luba? Does that make sense? So guys, what I'm trying to share with you is in 2025, you can reimagine completely how your company needs to work. And what I would always encourage you to do is you have to understand their workflow. Just flat out, you have to understand their workflow. So Candace brings up a good point, right? Candace says, I've been wanting to experiment with this all year. I haven't had the chance. Maybe next year. We always seem to have some hot projects going. You've got to figure out the right way for your management to carve out your time or hire someone else to make this happen. You have to do this, because if you don't, what's going to happen is your company is going to start to hire people that have been exposed to this. And now what are you going to do? This isn't like some special customization. This is standard out of the box stuff. And so that's number one problem. Number two problem is if you're not doing this, again, you're not really taking advantage of staying on top of all of these wonderful release notes that you can. And that's a problem. And it's a problem that you need to work out with your company so that you have adequate time and adequate resources to guide your company ahead. And so that's my thing for you. We're going to be, listen, we're going to be at the ICE show. We're doing a wrap-up event. It's going to be training. Amy, you don't know this yet? So this is brand new for everybody. Everybody's hearing this for the first time, all at the same time. Next week, look for the announcements. There's going to be like an early bird special, kind of a sign up. It's going to be a full day of training after the event. Brian, we have coupons. Do you need a coupon code for the ICE event, or do you mean for the wrap-up event? So anyway, we're going to have training after that. We're going to be at the show. For ICE, yeah. Brian, send me a message, direct message on the community, please. I'll get you the link. You're my client, so I'll get you the link. That's how we do it. So it saves $250 off. You see, you missed the early bird special, but at least get you save at $250. Anyway, it's going to be a huge year, 2025. We're going to be redoing how Mastering Encompass is all about. You'll hear more information about that. We're going to be doing coaching, direct coaching that's going to be affordable, hopefully for your companies to reinvest in your learning. We're going to be making sure that we've got more use case examples on Mastering Encompass so that you can take these examples and apply them. Think about it like ICE calls it innovation journeys. I just like to call it use cases or case examples. So the idea here is I want you guys to do the work, get involved, get energized. And if it means, Candace, for you, if it means you only help one loan officer in 2025, they're the luckiest loan officer, like truly. For everybody else, as you're going through these experiments, I want you to give the feedback. Part of the way that I've been able to be so successful in 2024 is this book I started reading 3 years ago, Lean Startup. And one of the things that you learn in Lean Startup that gets reinforced, you don't learn it there, but it got reinforced, is this thing of test, review, result, test, review, result. How many times do we do this with business rules and field calcs all day long, right? And so you have to actually do something to see if it's going to work. And the more often you do that to see the results, the more momentum you gain to getting things done. So what I would suggest you do, Candace and others, is take what I did and go do it and show it to somebody. There's a Loom link. If you want my Loom link, I'll send it to you. I thought I posted it publicly, but I'll send it to the community in this post and play that. It's a 5-minute video. Play that for your managers and be like, is there any reason why we don't want this? Oh, Chris is here. Chris, you want to talk about the thing with the I just went totally blank. Chris, remind me about with the compliance, right? With the extra states. So last thing I'll bring up here is Chris has got let me find you, Chris. Where the heck are you? You're probably all the way out here. All right, so let me make you allow mic. I'm going to allow camera. All right, so you don't have to come on camera, but you can come on mic. So basically, Chris and I were talking about before this, when you're going into other states, and we all know that ICE will rep and warrant the package, but that doesn't mean the package is going to be complete, because what if your users forget to do something? So what is everybody else doing on that? Chris, you want to add any flavor to that question?
I think you hit all the high points, but we're currently originating mostly in New England, looking to expand to various other parts of the country. Ran into some things in one of our last audits. While ICE does rep and warrant all their disclosures, what they don't tell you is what checkboxes to put in, what information needs to be filled in on the state-specific disclosure screen in order to have those disclosures generate compliantly, I guess, for lack of a better term. So I'm just looking for any advice, anybody who has a vendor, or what they did if their businesses expanded across state lines. Just looking for some help.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, for that. And so Luba says they use AllRegs to determine what forms are needed, compare what ICE package spits out, and work out what's missing. One of the other things I forgot to mention when we were chatting, Chris, was obviously the state disclosure matrix, right? Mm-hmm. And so it'll tell you the print conditions that produces the disclosure package, but it doesn't always align with what a regulator says.
Right.
Right. And so
that's kind of what we ran into. I gave you the example earlier. CD page 5, there's a choice between 2 checkboxes. In Massachusetts, it's one. In Connecticut, it's the other. So, without diving into 50 different, state regulations, trying to get some advice on what's what.
Yeah, it's a great question. So if anyone has any advice for Chris, obviously Chris is not the first company to want to expand. If there's companies out there, I know of a couple of compliance companies, but they're more like operational compliance than they are reviewing packages kind of a thing. I don't know if they cross over or what the deal is. Carrie, thanks for joining. Just really quick, the only thing that you missed was Chris is expanding over state lines, and he's wondering if you do anything special when you cross over state lines to make sure your disclosure packages are compliant, or who you might use, that kind of a thing. Luba added they like to use AllRegs to do some cross-checking, but everybody else is quiet on the topic, so everybody else is non-compliant, Chris. They're just Russian roulette and that thing go, and if they hear about it, they just hear about it.
Well, I'm in good company then.
Well, I was saying to Chris, like, we've got a project going on, somebody I've known for many, many, many years, and we just came onto the project to help them relieve some backlog. And it's the head of their compliance team. They've had findings outstanding for like 3 years. And so, they're like, hey, can you help with some of these things? I'm like, hey, yes, we need to fix that stuff because compliance is no joke. Angela says, wait, you guys are flying. Also, Maven helps with North Carolina, who has rules. Yeah, that is true. Chris, what states are you going into, by the way?
I mean, first is probably New York, New Jersey, working our way down the eastern seaboard.
New York? You're starting with New York, really?
Well, we've done some there already, which when I was managing our origination and processing teams, that was my task, to try to get a New York loan through.
I gotcha.
Which led to many sleepless nights.
I bet.
And then, where our customer base has second homes, vacation homes, the Carolinas, Florida, that kind of
Jersey.
thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you. Well, listen, we're gonna post this out to follow the in the community. If you guys think of anything afterwards, or if you want to hit Chris up directly because you don't want to post anything publicly in the meeting, I respect that, and I'm sure he'd appreciate any feedback. So, Chris,
Absolutely.
thanks for bringing up the question. It's been great.
No worries. Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, listen, I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Whoever you're spending time with, and however you're taking care of yourself and taking care of your family and friends, my sincerest, heartfelt thanks, everything for this year. And here's to 2025 as soon as it gets here, which will be in a blink. So you guys be well. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks as always. Be well. Bye bye now.